Cloud Imperium Games, a fitting name for the creators of a game where you spend your entire time above the clouds. Star Citizen. Now, this is a true space life simulator where you take the role of a pilot in the UEE, or United Earth Empire, in the year 2949. Cloud Imperium offers many activities in this game, with millions of square miles of planets alone to explore. You can do things like destroy people's personal property, explore beautiful terrain. Oh, geez, I'm gonna be sick. Carry some boxes. Get back here, you stupid little box. Maybe even traffic some illegal drugs. All sorts of fun things to do to take up your time. So, it's time to get into another episode of Is It Worth It or Not? But this time, for Star Citizen. The second you start the game, you're thrown straight into the character customization. This system is extremely well done for how new it is. You select up to 3 faces, and you change just how much of each one is in the main face, until it looks like the one you want using various fun little circle sliders. Then you have the more advanced side of the customization, using even more circle sliders, but for specific spots of your face. After that, you get into your typical, what color should my eyes be? Gotta make my hair pretty, and then boom, you're waking up in your bed, no idea who you are, where you are, all you know is you have to go find a spaceship. So you get out of your bed to do just that, and you look around your tiny, tiny room, maybe even turn around, look back at where you've just been sleeping for who knows how long, and just, wait, that looks incredibly uncomfortable. So you leave it, with hopes of never returning, and you go and learn, hey, now this is really cool. You can actually interact with the individual objects placed around your room, such as this coffee cup that has nothing in it, but you can still drink from it through your space helmet. And then you can attempt to put it back down awkwardly and watch it phase through the table and fall back on the floor, so you give up and you leave your room. So we can actually go begin exploring the aspect of the game I would like to try to finish covering in this video, and that is getting your ship, flying it, and then blowing things up after starting to fly it. As you walk through the hallways of Port Olisar, you realize this game is very, very attractive, and you're in a gritty space station. So you wonder, I wonder what the outside of this is going to be like. Well, it gets better. But the cool thing about this place is, as you walk through it, you truly do feel like you are in a space station, which is one of the things I love the most about this game, is the true level of immersion, and that we will be covering even more as we get to future parts of this video. But alone, let's just kind of walk through the hall as we go to the ship retrieval console so I can get out my F-7C Hornet, and we can get the flight part of this episode up in the air. Horrible pun, I know, but this is where we get into the actual flight mechanics of Star Citizen. If you recall, a few seconds ago, I looked at a screen that said Landing Pad B7. This is where my ship is going to be taken out of storage and placed for me to gain access to. So that means I will find a sign that will say B Strut 05 through 08, which encompasses my landing pad. I'll go out and airlock, walk casually up some stairs as I breathe weirdly heavily, and then I will actively be able to get in the cockpit of my ship and get into some wonderful flight missions. What we are currently looking at is my beautiful F-7C Hornet. It is a medium fighter that currently has 2 Gatling turrets on each wing, so two in total, one on the left wing, one on the right wing. This current model is equipped with a cargo bay upon the top, but it can be refitted with a gimbal that can fit a much larger gun. Whenever you first enter your ship, you are actually greeted by a very fluid animation of your pilot or character climbing the ladder, getting into the cockpit, and sitting in the chair as the hatch closes over you. This is where we start getting into a little bit more of the immersion side of this game before we actually get into flight mechanics, because you can fully look around your cockpit. You can see all the little fun dials, even though the ship is currently turned off, and you can access all of them by holding down the F key and bringing up what is called an interaction menu. The interaction menu brings up a tiny little cursor that lets you touch and prod at all the different options that you can use on your ship, which we'll get into right about now as we activate our ship by switching the power on. Yes, you turn on the power and suddenly, oh, the ship's alive. There's 1,000 screens staring at me with a bunch of green colors with a few red things, and there's about to be a creepy voice that talks to me. Well, every screen in your ship serves a purpose, and it is all surprisingly easy to monitor depending on what you're doing. Whenever you activate your ship, though, you can either do straight up and go flight ready, which activates all systems, or you can do power on and then engine on. Engine on officially allows your ship to be able to fly, to be able to take off by holding down the spacebar and lift up into the air before you press N to retract your landing gear and allow full mobility of your ship. So, at the beginning of this mission, you will exit Quantum near a certain waypoint, and a voice will start talking to you and basically explain the mission. This is not important for what's going on in this video, but I'm going to include it to help the flow of getting into true fighter combat. But this is the section where explaining these things will become a little more tedious for me as the speaker and for you as the viewer. I'm going to do my best, but combat in this game is very multi-part, if that's the best way to put it, because you have multiple view screens in your ship. Whenever we get into actual engagement, I will point out each individual view screen and tell you what it does and why it's there, what is its importance, and how it works with the mechanics of the game. For the most part, combat in this, very bare bones, is you lock onto a target by pressing 3, you put your reticle on the circle it tells you to put it on, and you hold down the fire button and hope for the best. This is so you don't go into this and go, oh, that's all I do, because I'm about to explain to you all the little nooks and crannies of the different in-depth screens and different ways to fight enemy ships. Whenever you run into an enemy, your ship's AI will automatically say bogey, which means, hey, enemy ship in front of you, go kill it. So whenever you get within range, you'll press 3, lock onto your target, and there will be an odd orange shape that appears on the top right of at least my ship's HUD. What this is this is basically your target lock. This will orient itself with the enemy ship as you move around it and as it moves around you. As you shoot and deal damage, the different orange bars around it will flash to show which shields you're damaging. Once you penetrate the shields, or if using a ballistic weapon like me, which penetrates through shields, the ship's body will flash with the certain parts of it that are taking damage, so you can track where you're shooting and what's taken the most damage on the enemy vessel. Along with the damage states for the enemy ship on the top right of your HUD, you also have your own ship's damage states on the top left of your HUD. This is much easier to look at because it is just a top view of your ship with the 4 shields around it. As your shields break, the bars will shrink and then eventually disappear. And as your ship takes damage, your ship's parts will either turn red or fully disappear if they are blown off of your ship. Now, this will be demonstrated later on because, once again, I am bad at flying the ship right now. It's been a while. So part of my ship does get blown off, and I will explain what that does to you in combat whenever we get to that point. One of the next HUD elements that is actually probably one of the most important in my opinion is the missile lock and the missile being fired elements. So you'll notice I can't really get a clear view of this, you'll just have to watch closely. At the very beginning of when I started speaking about this, you would see a triangle, and maybe even every now and then you'll see triangles fly across the screen. That is a missile being launched either from the enemy vessel or from your own vessel. How you require a missile lock in Star Citizen is by, after acquiring the main target lock, you press your middle mouse button. After pressing your middle mouse button, you will see multiple circles highlight the enemy ship in your viewport. After that, you will hold it down and a missile will be fired. Now, there are ways to evade this, such as your flares, which are an available option on your ship. And this will, if it's an enemy missile, will basically work like flares, keep it from hitting you. If it does make contact, missiles are very, very deadly, and most of the time, if you have no shields, will end your life in an instant. If you also notice my ship occasionally spinning out of control, that is because, well, we are in space. There is no gravity, there is no friction, but if an enemy ship flies by me at the speed it's going and taps me, I will spin like crazy. That is where I hold X, which is my space brake, and that stabilizes my ship and lets me, well, continue fighting with ease. Now that it has officially happened in this recording that I'm using, you'll notice on the top left, I will not zoom in on it because you need to learn, look at the full picture, you'll notice that my left wing is missing. It is no longer a mirror image of the right side of my ship. And if you also notice, whenever I shoot, the flare effects are no longer coming from both sides of my screen. They're only coming from the right side. This is the downside of taking hard damage like that. If you lose part of your ship that contains a weapon system, you lose that weapon. If you lose your engines, you lose the capability to move, and things like that. And if you lose, well, the entire structural integrity of your ship, it blows up like you just saw happen to me. And if that happens, luckily, do not fret. You respawn and wake up in that horrible, horrible cramped bed in the room where the cup fell through the table. But luckily, retrieving your ship, it's a piece of cake. You just simply go back to the console where you first got it, and you file a claim. And when you file a claim, you can either pay an extra fee to have it come faster, or you wait the full time for, well, your ship to finally respawn so you can set out on another wonderful adventure and get revenge and hopefully not die again. That concludes part 1 of this Star Citizen, basically summary. I will say, I do really enjoy the combat in this game, so this is my partial review segment. I love it. I think it's super fun. I think it's really well made. If your game is stable enough, you need an SSD for this game. It is honestly a great experience. It is very fluent. It is very well thought out. There's more to monitor than what I talked about, but given the time span I wanted to fit this in and the ship I had, I couldn't cover all of it, but hey, that's what the next 2 videos are for. Speaking of part 2, the next video, you'll be joining me aboard my beautiful constellation Andromeda as I take a more peaceful approach to this game and actively explore and look at the various planets it has to offer and what all the different little nitpicky parts of it are all about that don't involve blowing up other living creatures.